Welcome back, everyone, to Movin' Right Along, a Muppet Movie podcast brought to you by toughpigs.com. This is the podcast where we watch the Muppet Movie 2 minutes at a time and talk about it a lot. I'm your host, Ryan Rowe.
And I'm your other host, Anthony Strand.
And today we have a very special guest. Why don't you tell us about yourself?
Hi, I'm Noel Murray. I'm a freelance writer living in Arkansas. I write for such publications as the AV Club, the New York Times, Los Angeles Times, and Rolling Stone.
You are by far the most impressive guest that we have had so far.
That's very kind of you to say.
Thank you for joining us on the show.
Glad to be here.
And today we are looking at minutes 21 and 22 of the Muppet Movie. This clip begins with Fozzie backing up into Doc Hopper's car. And then it goes into the song that gave this podcast its title, Movin' Right Along. And that pretty much makes up the rest of these 2 minutes. So, we get a glimpse of Doc Hopper here at the very end. I think it's interesting that you start to kind of see the seeds of discontent between Doc Hopper and Max when Hopper tells him to follow that frog. And Max is like, oh, but you promised me a reward. And he immediately just yells at him.
Well, something I never thought about until watching it for this podcast today. This is the only time Max mentions a reward, right?
I guess so.
Like, there's some backstory here where Max and Doc Hopper had a meeting, and Doc Hopper was like, well, you find me a spokes frog, and I'll give you a reward, or something, right? Like, and then it never, like, this seems like, watching it now, it feels like that should be a bigger thing for Max.
Like it should come up again.
Yeah, that Doc Hopper stiffed him out of his reward, right?
I guess so.
Yeah, but do you want that to be true? I mean, part of the great charm of the Muppet movie is the fact that Max, at the end, kind of spoil the later in the film.
Yes, I think most people have seen it.
Audience, we're assuming the kids have seen the Muppet movie.
The idea is that they're not actually watching it 2 minutes at a time for the first time while they do this podcast. Okay. A moment later in the film when Max, buys Doc Hopper and helps the Muppets. So I think that if it was just a mercenary thing, I think that would be
right. I suppose like it's good that Max isn't more concerned with the reward, is what you're saying. That we're laying the groundwork for him to have his change of heart later on. Yeah, I can buy that. Yeah. I will say one thing about this scene is when Fozzie hits the car, when Fozzie hits Max's car, Doc Hopper says, hey, that's my caddy.
Yeah.
Meaning, of course, his Cadillac. When I was a kid, I thought that he meant like a golf caddy, and he was calling Max his caddy.
Max probably is his caddy.
He probably is, but it's like a very golfer caddy relationship, and my dad's a big golfer, right? And I would be his caddy out on the links or whatever.
Yeah.
So I just assumed, of course, that's what he meant.
That was your point of reference for that word.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can I ask how old you guys are?
Sure. I'm just about to turn 33, so I was born in 1984.
I am 36. I'm old enough that I had to think about it for a second.
So neither of you would have seen this movie when it actually first came out.
No.
Okay.
No. Did you see it in the theater? No.
I did actually. Yes, I'm 47 years old. So I saw the film in its original theatrical release, and it was my first actual exposure to Austin Pendleton, who was a great character actor who's been in many many things, and to the point where I actually. It wasn't until I revisited Muppet Movie later on in my life that I realized that's who it was.
Sure,
He's such a good character actor. He's been in so many different things. I never thought to myself, oh, that's the guy from the Muppet Movie. Like when I first saw him in films later on, like My Cousin Vinny or other films like that.
Yeah.
Or you would not have seen Fiddler on the Roof when you saw, at the age that you saw the Muppet Movie.
Yeah, exactly. And nor was I aware of his whole, upbringing in the New York theater or any of that kind of stuff. No.
Right. Whereas I have always had the opposite experience, where every time I've seen him, because I think I saw him in the Muppet Movie so many times before I saw him in anything else. We had the VHS as when I was a kid, and I saw him in the Muppet Movie so often that by the time I saw My Cousin Vinny or The Front Page, or whatever, it's just like, oh, there's Max. There's old Max showing up in other movies.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I sort of grew up thinking of him equally as Max and as the stuffy like science boss guy from Short Circuit.
Yeah, Short Circuit. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. All right. So then the next thing we see is a really beautiful shot of the Studebaker driving toward us as the sun rises, which it never really occurred to me, but I guess this is just supposed to be like Kermit and Fozzie have been driving all night. Now the sun's coming up and it's a new day.
Well, yeah. If we could go back to before the sun rises,
sure.
I think the shot of the Studebaker backing up into Max's car and then hitting the traffic barrier, I think that is the most effective shot of Fozzie driving a car in this movie, because we see it's a nice wide shot of the whole car, but we can clearly see that Fozzie is driving. Whereas, like during the song, it's mostly either close-ups of them in the cab or shots that are too wide to really see Kermit and Fozzie.
Right.
I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because these 2 minutes, the main thing that we could talk about, I guess, is the song, which begins, and of course this is the name of the podcast, so it's an important thing, and we should bring it up. But to me, what struck out from watching these 2 minutes was the scenes of the way that car is shot, the fact that it's not the Muppets in a car in front of green screen. It is the Muppets clearly in an actual car out in the real world, and you can tell that because of the way the shadows move inside the car as they're driving along. That's the kind of thing. Right. That's the kind of effect you couldn't quite get with a green screen and lights. One of the great charms to me of this movie is the way they kind of combine the low-tech quality of the Muppets themselves by taking that low-tech Muppet thing and then putting them in the real world, by putting them next to actual water, actual car, doing actual, sun coming in. I can't really define the quality. It's not necessarily that it makes them more realistic. It's just kind of beautiful in a great way. It's something very, very real and very charming about it to me.
Right. Maybe not more realistic, but certainly more. It makes the world feel more real, even if the Muppets themselves don't. Maybe like it's almost more jarring that the Muppets are in what is clearly the real world, interacting with tactile things.
Yeah, exactly.
Which obviously you couldn't do with a movie from around the same time, something like Pete's Dragon,
right?
Where Elliot the dragon is clearly not interacting with anything because he's a cartoon.
What's funny is my memory from the movie when it came out. I remember critics like Roger Ebert, and yes, at age 7 or 8, I actually was aware of Roger Ebert, which is how big of a movie nerd I was, even at a young age. I remember him actually commenting on the fact that how impressive it was that you could see Kermit riding a bicycle, and then now of course Fozzie and Kermit riding in a car. Something that simple, compared to this is like a year or two around the same time that Star Wars came out. So, Star Wars is the cutting edge of special effects, and yet putting a puppet in a car is like every bit as beautiful in a way as like, creating the Death Star.
Sure, yeah. You're absolutely right. And another shot, I think, that gives me that same feeling later on in these minutes, during the song, right at the end of these 2 minutes, we have that great helicopter shot where the Studebaker turns around in a 4-way intersection.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. It's not necessary, but it's just such a cool shot.
Well, it's one of those touches that makes it so clear that this is not just some puppet movie for little kids or something, that they are putting so much more effort into this movie than they strictly needed to.
And this is after, I guess, they come to the fork in the road. Is that right?
Yeah, after the fork in the road, yeah.
Yeah, we do have the fork in the road in this clip. It's a really big fork. It's one of those jokes that as a little kid, I'm sure I didn't get because you just take everything at face value. Like, of course, it's a fork in the road. What else would it be?
Right. Well, I think when I was a little kid, the joke is how big the fork is, like you said. Like I didn't know the term come to a fork in the road, but it's like there's a fork in the road. Look how big it is. It's like a giant sized fork.
Yeah, that's a really big fork.
Do either of you guys know the book David's Father by Robert Munch?
No.
Which is about a little girl who goes over to her friend's house. Her friend is adopted, and her friend's father is a giant.
Huh.
And so it's all just visual gags about the giant things that they have in the house and that he's eating for dinner while they eat regular sized foods, whatever. But the cover of the book is this boy looking as, or the little girl looking as two workmen carry the giant fork and knife to the dad's plate. And so the giant fork in the road here always reminded me of that book as a kid.
That's funny. This is getting way off on another tangent, but that story reminds me of that DC Comics dictionary where Superman is carrying a giant spoon, like to a giant, so he can eat ice cream or something.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
Yes, I have, actually.
Yeah, so there you go. We all have fond memories of giant silverware.
Well, to me, if we're talking about the context of when this movie came out and that particular joke, much like the special effects has to be compared to some extent to what was going on with Star Wars and other films. That gag, this film is about, I guess, if I'm doing the math right, 2 years before Airplane, 2 years after Kentucky Fried Movie. So it's kind of that particular that joke of literalizing a common expression, which would become the hallmark of the Zucker-Abrams-Zucker films. Is here in Muppet Movie, and not just here. I mean, it's like throughout the film they do that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, this doesn't really get mentioned along with those kind of movies, but maybe it should.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that particular kind of humor, which I don't know. I mean, I don't know how far back you can trace that, but just taking something that people say and then giving a literal image. It works. What can I say? It's a visual gag, but it works.
It works when the Muppets do it. It's I don't know if anyone or everyone could pull it off, but they can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
But although already in the movie we had another very good example of that, which was the drinks on the house joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. Another joke I did not get as a kid. Maybe I was just a dumb kid.
Well, that's possible.
It's also possible, yes. I found some stuff on Muppet Wiki about how Fozzie drove the Studebaker. I don't know if you guys have ever looked into that, or if you've ever wanted to have the magic spoiled for you or not wanted the magic spoiled for you.
Spoil away, man.
But so this was taken from the Muppet Show fan club newsletter at the time. It said, "How does Fozzie drive a car? He doesn't." And then this is the word that they used. We would probably use a different word today, but it says, "A midget drives the car by remote control from the trunk, using a television monitor to guide his steering. The puppeteers were lying on the seat or were scrunched on the floor and couldn't see a thing. The first time they tried driving, the television monitor went on the blink and the driver had to be talked through the scene by an assistant director on a walkie-talkie. A little to the right, now to the left, hold it." So as if they're not already, like, nobody had ever done anything like this before. It must have been terrifying. And then their monitor went out.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, although the thing about the monitor itself is, I'm sure you guys both know this, but that's basically what the puppeteers were looking at too, on the Muppet Show and Sesame Street and every Muppet thing.
Yeah, so they were used to that.
Puppeteers were looking at their little monitors and they're, performing their characters. So, do we know who the driver was? Was it a Muppet performer? Probably not, right? Probably like a stunt driver.
Well, I mean, I guess they must have specially made these cars so the little person could drive from the trunk, and then I guess that left room for the puppeteers up front just to, I don't know exactly, like, I don't know if that means the engine was in the same place or how exactly that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, they are in the middle of nowhere, so it's not like they have they're not in imminent danger of being smashed by a truck or anything like
That's
that.
true, and presumably all the
Right.
highways were blocked off for filming. So,
Exactly.
but yeah, that's
Oh,
Frank Oz and whoever is right handing him, and then Jim Henson, and then possibly another performer. I don't know if is Kermit moving both his hands when he plays the
well,
banjo.
there are definitely shots. Like there's one shot towards the beginning of the song, which is such a nice little touch that I love, where Kermit looks down and it looks like he's adjusting his chord. Like it looks like he's changing his fingering on his banjo.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. I love those moments.
Which could easily be Jim though too. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
he has two hands. Kermit only moves one hand, so he could be just adjusting it slightly himself. That would make the most sense. But it does make Kermit feel very real that while playing the song, he has to look down and check to make sure he has the next chord right.
yeah. It's just these little details. And then the other thing I have about the Studebaker is that they use two of them in the movie. One of them is currently on display at the Studebaker National Museum in South Bend, Indiana, so you can go see it there. But the car's paint is not in such good shape, so if you would like to make a donation to help them restore that Studebaker, you can do so at studebakermuseum.org.
Nice.
It's a
No
worthy
kidding.
cause.
Yeah, for sure. So it was the Studebaker factory in South Bend or something. Is that why the museum's there?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good guess, though.
Huh. Yeah, that's fascinating.
So yeah, that's all I have for specific notes on these minutes.
Well, we
Huh.
should talk about the song because the song begins, here in these minutes, right? The song is not before this, is it?
No, it's yeah. That this what we see here when the sun comes up. That's the start of moving right along.
Okay, and I know that obviously the next 2 minutes you guys do will probably be more about the song because that's the heart of it. But I was looking back at my notes that I've taken on this movie in the past because I wrote a long review of the Blu-ray release for the Dissolve several years ago, and I think the Dissolve also did this movie as one of our movies of the week
You sure
before.
did. Yeah, I was a huge Dissolve fan, and that was a thrill,
Yeah,
genuinely.
yeah,
When I
same
saw
Yeah,
here.
that was going to be movie of the week.
so I was looking back at I had a discussion with Tasha Robinson, my friend and colleague, this film, and we talked about the music in the film and talked about some of the different aspects that resonate with us more now. And we're talking about the performing of Jim Henson and moving the hands on the banjo and things like that. What I made note of several years ago that I wanted to bring up is the fact that I don't think we talk enough about the fact that Jim Henson and Frank Oz are singing this song as Kermit the Frog and Fozzie Bear, right? They're not singing as Jim Henson and Frank Oz. They're singing in character, and yet the song is fantastic. Like there's so much personality in their vocal performance, and there's so much joy, and so much musicality. I
Yeah,
mean, it's really, I mean, the layers of what they are able to accomplish with this performance is, I don't know. I just think it's worth. It's so good that you don't notice it. You know what I mean? It's like it's almost
right,
seamless. Like there's no
right. Well, and
strain, so to speak.
and I think that's exactly the thing. Ryan and I write for Tough Pigs. We're thinking about Muppets every single day. So I really do think that we take stuff like that for granted. So
We
like
definitely do.
a Muppet fan such as yourself, who doesn't wake up every morning thinking about them, really does bring like a better perspective to appreciate the kind of things that we're just like, oh yeah, that's the Muppet performers. They're all great. What else? What else can we talk about? You know,
And
Yeah,
it's a
you
great
kind
song,
of pause
right?
and go, "Oh yeah, they are really brilliant."
Yeah, and it's a great song. I mean, this is Paul Williams, Kenny Asher. I assume that they wrote this song as well, right? I know
yeah.
they wrote.
Sort
Yeah.
all this.
Yeah, actually, we interviewed Paul Williams a few years ago. He said he thought this one might have been the first song that they wrote for the movie. He wasn't certain, but it seemed to him like this was the first one they wrote.
I mean, do you know how hard it is to write a memorable original song for a movie musical? I mean, it's like that's why there's so few original movie musicals these days because it's just not that easy to actually create. Even something like La La Land last year, there are a couple of songs in that movie that are memorable, but out of the entire score, there's I mean, you know what I mean? It's like that's such a gift. And this movie,
Right. Oh, for sure.
this movie has Rainbow Connection. It has Moving Right Along. That's something.
Yeah, I don't know. It remains to be seen if La La Land has any songs that people will be singing in 40 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I think that all of the Muppet movies have some good songs. I think that this one has the best song score still of all, 7 musicals that they've made.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just hit after hit, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
I would probably agree with that.
But yeah, no, and like you say, moving right along is really kind of just getting started, and we have to save some material for next week. But one thing that we're getting back to selling the illusion during the song, I love that Kermit has the roadmap out and is just like trying to find where they need to turn, which is again another small thing that could just as easily not be there, and helps sell the illusion that they are actually on a road trip in 1979.
Yeah, agreed.
And it's so true to the characters and the whole premise of the movie that they're just kind of figuring it out as they go along.
Right. Yeah, they don't well, although I will say they do say we don't need a map to get the show on the road, but Kermit's looking at the map anyway.
Ooh. I hope somebody got fired for that.
Yeah, who was it? James Frawley should have gotten
Yep.
for not following the lyrics to the song. One other thing I did want to mention, not about the song, but this is just speculation. According on Muppet Wiki, it says that the movie was filmed in California and New Mexico. According to a pamphlet released by the New Mexico Tourism Board in 1998 called 100 Years of Filmmaking in New Mexico, some of the Muppet movie was shot in New Mexico. So I kind of wonder if some of these outdoor vistas aren't some of the New Mexico portion.
Yeah, I've never been to that state. It doesn't look like what I imagine that state would look like, but what do I know?
Well, they do have mountains, and there are mountains in these minutes.
Right. My main reason for speculating that is that I'm thinking of like the wide shots where we can't really see Kermit and Fozzie. Right. And it seems possible to me that they might have just taken like a second unit there to shoot some of this car stuff. I don't know. That's just me theorizing.
Yeah. Or they could have just hired another bear and another frog to do it.
Yeah, that's right.
Of course.
All right. That's moving right along. Anything else on the song or these minutes?
I think that's about all I have, except to mention that the line "Yellow Cabot" is a great line. But beyond that,
it's so good.
Beyond that, I got nothing else.
Yeah, and Kermit is so startled by it.
That's right. Well, yeah, why wouldn't he be?
Right. Well, and the way Kermit repeats Cabot, like you're being ridiculous, is such a like that is Kermit and Fozzie's relationship in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Right. Fozzie is like, I'm doing a joke that I just came up with, and Kermit's response is, you shouldn't have done that joke.
Right. That's it exactly. Yeah.
It's great. It's perfect.
Yeah. And so, Noel, you said you saw this in the theater when it was released initially.
Yes, that's true.
How do you rank this among all of the Muppet movies? Is it at the top of your list, near the top of your list?
It is the top of the list. When I was younger, I had a lot of affection for the Great Muppet Caper because that was on cable a lot when I was a kid, right when we had cable for the first time. So I watched that one over and over and over again. But the Muppet movie, not only did I see it in a theater when it came out, but one of my friends actually had the early proto version of the Laserdisc. It wasn't called a Laserdisc. It was called something else. I can't remember what it was called.
Was it an RCA Selectavision?
Selectavision?
Yes. It was the RCA Selectavision. And so whenever I would go to his house for sleepovers, they had that movie.
Wow.
We'd watch it. We'd watch it through the weird thing it did where it skipped, which is kind of a glitch of that particular technology. So I have fond memories of that as well. But I think as time has gone by, I've come back to this film more than the other ones, which is not in any way a knock on the other films, many of which I really love. But this to me is both the best piece of filmmaking and the most moving story, I think, of all the films.
Sure. Yeah, I can't quibble with either of those.
Yeah, no, that's a good choice. So, all right, I guess with that, we will wrap things up. As always, you can find us at toughpigs.com on the internet and various social media. You can find me on Twitter at me Ryan Rowe. Anthony is at Zeppo Marxist. And Noel, where can we find you on the internet?
My Twitter handle is at Noelmu. That's Noelmu. The Tumblr is Hey Hey in the Hayloft. Hey in the Hayloft.
All right. Is that a Sullivan's Travel reference?
You got it, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, make sure you don't go to the competing Tumblr, Ants in Your Plants of 1939.
Yes, no, that guy's a jerk. Don't go to that guy.
No, definitely don't go to that Tumblr. All right. So, yes, and thank you everyone for listening. And thank you once again, Noel, for joining us this week.
Glad to be here.
And everyone else, be sure to tune in next week for another Movin' Right Along.
Goodbye.
Bye.